All right, so we've been digging deep into the future of education in Nepal.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, there's a lot to unpack here. It's like we're talking AI in the Himalayas,
Mm.
a complete digital revolution.
Absolutely. It's fascinating to see how they're using tech to, well, to try and solve some pretty deep-rooted challenges.
Exactly. And, our listeners are always interested in these kind of global trends. So let's dive right in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so one of the things that really jumped out at me was this thing called the Digital Nepal Framework.
Right.
What is that all about?
Well, it's really ambitious. I mean, they're basically trying to bring the internet
Okay.
to like every corner of the country,
Wow.
even those remote mountain villages.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, it is a huge undertaking, and it's really all about, bridging that digital divide
Right.
that we see in so many countries.
Okay, so bridging the divide.
Hmm.
But then what do they do with that? I mean, having the internet is one thing.
Right.
But what are they actually doing in these classrooms?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, right?
Yeah.
They're looking at things like AI-powered personalized learning.
AI.
So imagine this. You have a student in let's say, a rural school.
Mhm.
They're learning math,
Okay.
but they're learning it at their own pace
Got it.
through an app
Okay.
that adapts to their needs.
Wow.
It figures out their strengths and weaknesses.
That's some futuristic stuff.
It is, and it's not just limited to, traditional subjects.
Right.
They're also looking at VR and AR.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, like imagine students putting on a VR headset,
Mm.
and suddenly they're exploring a 3D model of an ancient Nepali temple.
Oh, that's incredible.
It's bringing history and culture to life in a way that, textbooks just can't.
Okay, that's amazing. But, I can't help but think about, well, not everyone has equal access to all this, right?
Absolutely, that's a crucial point.
Yeah. So how do they address that gap between those who have access and those who don't?
Well, it's a multifaceted challenge.
Right.
Nepal has made significant progress in terms of education overall,
Sure.
but there's still a gap
Yeah.
between urban and rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
Access to quality teachers, resources, basic infrastructure even.
Right.
It's a struggle for many, especially in those marginalized communities.
And we're talking about like specific communities here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like who are we talking about?
Well, girls, children with disabilities, those from economically disadvantaged backgrounds.
Okay, so what needs to happen to like actually change that?
Well, inclusive policies are a big part of it.
Okay.
Ensuring that everyone has the same opportunities.
So not just like getting them in school,
Exactly.
but like what they're learning matters too.
Absolutely. The curriculum needs to be relevant.
Yeah.
It needs to prepare them for the future.
So what does that look like, practically speaking?
So one of the big shifts is towards competency-based education.
Competency-based education. Okay, break that down for me.
It's all about skills, not just rote memorization.
Right.
It's about, can you think critically?
Got it.
Can you solve problems?
Mm-hmm.
Can you work collaboratively?
So how do they teach that? I mean, like, what would that look like in a classroom?
So imagine a classroom where instead of just reading from textbooks,
Wow.
students are working on a real-world project.
Okay.
Maybe they're designing a solution
Uh-huh.
to a local environmental challenge.
Right.
They're applying those critical thinking skills.
Got it.
They're learning by doing.
That makes sense. And then that totally changes the role of the teacher, right?
Exactly.
It's not just standing there lecturing anymore.
No, it's much more about being a facilitator.
Okay, so facilitator, what does that mean in this context?
I mean, guiding students, nurturing their curiosity,
Right.
helping them discover information on their own.
But that requires a lot from teachers.
Right. It does. Teachers need access to ongoing professional development,
Training.
support. They need to be equipped with the latest tools.
And honestly, like, they need to be paid well, right? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Teacher well-being is crucial.
yeah, if you're going to ask that much of teachers, they have to feel valued.
Exactly. It's an investment in the future.
Okay, so we've painted this pretty optimistic picture, but, I'm sure there are challenges too.
Oh, of course.
I mean, nothing's ever easy, right?
Right. I mean, political instability can be a major hurdle.
Yeah,
Funding is always a challenge.
of course.
And then there's resistance to change, especially in education where traditions run deep.
So collaboration is key then, right?
Absolutely.
Everyone working together.
Government, private sector, international organizations, all of them.
Okay, so last question for you. It seems like Nepal's really on this path of like embracing innovation and
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
But how do they make sure it's uniquely Nepali?
That's a great question.
I mean, it's great to follow global trends,
Hmm.
but how do they incorporate their own culture, their own values?
Well, for instance, Nepal has this rich tradition of storytelling.
Right.
Could that be integrated into, say, STEM education?
Oh, that's interesting.
Make it more engaging, more culturally relevant?
Wow. So much to think about.
Yeah.
It's incredible to see how Nepal's like shaping the future of education
Hmm.
and really working to empower their students.
Yeah. It's inspiring.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
I hope our listeners are as intrigued as we are.
Me too.
And who knows, maybe this will inspire some of you to learn even more about what's happening in Nepal.
Absolutely.
It's a story worth following.
Definitely.
All right, until next time.
See you then.